EuroLeague fans, it's time to make history. EuroLeague 25 voting has already started. Swipe left on the players that you don't like. Swipe right on the players you love. And when you find your GOAT, swipe up to crown the MVP. Together, your vote will help us choose the greatest players ever to take the court in the EuroLeague. So, don't miss out. Find the link in the show description and start swiping now. Welcome to the 11th episode of the EuroLeague Fantasy Challenge podcast for this season. This week, it's a special theme all about the forwards. You've got me, Frankie Sachs, Javier Cancedo, and our special guest, Bonzie Colson from Fenerbahce. Javi, tell us all about it.
Yeah, hello Frankie, hello Bonzie, hello everybody. First of all, we have to start, I don't know if it's a forward or not, but Nemanja Miskovic won the EuroLeague Fantasy Challenge podcast private league this week to 111.75 points, which is wow. And we have Bonzie Colson playing for the first time. Bonzie, how are you doing? How is everything?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about, doing this fantasy challenge.
So we got a ton of questions for you about fantasy, about Fenerbahce, about the EuroLeague. But let's start. Just tell us about how things are going and coming off a big win against Real Madrid.
Yeah, everything's going well here. We're playing pretty solid right now at this part of the season with everything going on. And, we're just trying to improve every week, get better. Like I said, it's a long season, but we're playing well. Just trying to stay consistent as best as we can. And, stay humble and hungry throughout this year's journey.
How important is it in double weeks to bounce back? Because you had a road loss in Vitoria, then you bounce back immediately with a huge win. Nigel Davis was fantastic with 33 points. But like I said, how important is to forget quickly about, even if you win, to forget about the previous game and just focus on the next one?
Yeah, that's the best thing about our job is that we have another game a couple of days after. So, obviously, we watch film after the game, figure out what we can improve on, play better, play smarter, play a little bit tougher, and have a better start, which we felt like we've been lacking, throughout this season. And we did that against Madrid, played tough, followed the game plan, came out a little stronger, and just carried the momentum throughout the year. We were led by, Nigel had a tremendous performance, playing as one of the best players in the league right now for sure. He's been leading us great this whole year. We just gotta, all of us, to stay consistent and continue this momentum as we play Monaco this week.
You mentioned Nigel, who's a guy who the last couple of years, as he rose to stardom, you had to guard a couple times a year and deal with that difficulty. Now he's your teammate. I'm sure you prefer having him next to you as opposed to in front of you. What's it like playing alongside Nigel?
Yeah, Nigel, first of all, Nigel's a great person. He's a great guy. He has tremendous work ethic, and you can see his work showing on the court, every game. And he's just doing what he loves. He's tough to guard. He's very versatile. He can post up. He can shoot the three. He can put it off the dribble. Once you have a guy like that trying to guard, it's tough. And then, to be able to play with him this year, it's even better. Seeing him go to work and have fun doing what he loves and play with confidence. And he gives other guys confidence as well. So we just have to keep it up and just doing what we do.
Let's talk about the fantasy challenge then. Frankie, it was a tough week, but there's a player I want to highlight that all of a sudden has become a solid option at center, which is David McCormack. And I want to ask Bonzie, when players switch teams sometimes, they get a much bigger role, and this is something to, not just in fantasy challenge, but in real life basketball, is something to, take care about, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like you're flipping a new page. A coach can give you a little bit more confidence, and then at first you can make a little bit more mistakes when you go to a new team, so you can play a little bit freely. And like you said, McCormack's has been playing really well right now, and he's definitely taking advantage of his opportunity.
The flip side of that, a guy goes to a new place and he gets a little bit more freedom. But I'm also nervous sometimes when I see a guy who is a really talented player coming back from injury and they never know how much to trust them in the first game or two back. That was the case even with your longtime and now current teammate, Wade Baldwin, when he came back from injuries. I didn't want to touch him the first couple of games back. It just makes me nervous. What's your opinion when you see a player, real life or in fantasy, coming back from an injury, and how quickly you can trust them to go back to themselves?
I mean, I think when you talk fantasy, you talk, real life, it's a little bit different, obviously. But you have, the trainers and you have time to work on your body, and the trainers are making sure that you're 100% before you get out there. Obviously, you may be a little bit fatigued playing, but once you get that second wind, you're kind of back into that rhythm of playing and not really worrying about, your past injury.
You focus a lot on matchups. How important are matchups in this type of games?
Yeah, that was my main thing. Who's playing who? Because matchups, are important. Obviously matchups and where they're playing, if it's home or it's away. Those things that I think, are important when you pick these teams. Obviously, how well they're playing as well.
So the one thing that's definitely more important than matchups is opportunity. And one guy who's about to get a bigger opportunity, who's a friend of yours, is Roman Sorkin. Jaciel Rivero is out. Sorkin, I got the numbers in front of me. Rivero missed 3 games early this season. In those 3 games, Sorkin averaged 16 points. He shot 60% on twos, 40% on threes, had an average PIR of 18. The rest of the season, he's averaged 7.8 points, 50% shooting on twos, 28% on threes, and a PIR of 5. So all of us have Sorkin on our teams. We all believe that with more minutes, he's going to produce well. But why don't you tell us a little about your former teammate Sorkin and what can we expect from him?
Yeah, Roman, that's my guy. He's a very versatile forward. He can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot it. He's a pick and pop guy. He can post up. And like you said, with Yasiel being out, he's gonna, have more minutes where he could, play his game. And, he's been with Maccabi for 2 years with this system. So he understands the system. And I believe Tamir is back as well. And they have a really great connection with lobs and short rolls where he can score and maneuver in the mid post. So I think it's a great pick for all of us, and I think he'll do well.
When it comes to injuries and players out, I usually focus on the opponent team, like who's playing that position in the opponent team that would also get an advantage. Like for instance, Filip Petrosov is not playing this week, so Zvezda plays Olympiacos, so probably Besenkov, who is back and doing well, is a solid choice to be the star of a team. But I don't know. Frankie usually focus more on teammates, like who's gonna step up, who's gonna play more minutes instead. I like to think about who's the opponent. In case of Maccabi, they play Bayern. Jaciel Rivero is not playing, so probably Devin Booker is a good choice. With that in mind, I traded Devin Booker this week, so Anders is not, he's still a good example. But anyway, yeah, that's how people should think. Like where to find opportunities, like Frankie said, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely important. Opportunity is the most important thing, and when you have that, you got to go out there and do your thing.
I think that the regulars of the podcast would be upset with me if I didn't ask about the player who I ask all the players about, who's become my new favorite player to watch, Lonnie Walker. He struggled in the first 2 games of the season. You guys played in his first 2 games since he came over. You played in his third. That was his first kind of breakout game with 19 points against you. What did you see about in him in that game and his adjustment to the EuroLeague? And what are your impressions of him so far?
Yeah, I think everybody has this adjustment to playing in Europe. Never mind playing in EuroLeague. And it takes time, but he's a pro. Maybe a game or so, or a practice or a film session to kind of get your momentum going. And as you've seen, he played really well against us, and he's kind of been skyrocketing, ever since then. So I have him in my five as well. I think he was going to continue to play well, continue to do his thing, and he's playing electric. So it's good to see for sure.
Frankie's obsessed with Lonnie Walker. I don't know why. I never had him in my team yet, but the one player I have, let's say more often than anybody, is Theo Maledon. I think he surprised a lot of people. He's doing really well. Is there any other surprises? Any other players that you think that for instance, Neil Sacco, the other guy, the center from Israel, was also a surprise in the beginning of the season. Uh, how come? I mean, is it possible still in the yearly with so much scouting, so much knowledge about the players, to find guys that actually step up and surprise people? Is that common, or is just this season that it's kind of?
I mean, I think that's what it's all about. I mean, when guys, first, their first year in EuroLeague, they play with that edge, with that swagger. And we have a lot of new guys coming in this year doing that. So it's great to see. I think it's great for the league. Gives obviously the guys more confidence, and It provides, great things for the league. So it's good to see guys hooping and playing well, early in the season, and hopefully they can all maintain it. But when that second round comes, it gets a little tricky. Once the scout gets a little bit more intense and in depth, that's when the real, real things start to come about. So, but it's good to see.
Yeah, I was wondering when you first entered the EuroLeague, how motivated were you? Because you played Euro Cup, you played the Champions League. But when you played your first, I mean, I guess you were extra motivated. Like, okay, I need to prove myself at the highest level, right?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to. I mean, I've always played with kind of an edge and a chip on my shoulder ever since I was in high school to college. So it's just who I am. And then obviously you want to do it, being a pro and being in Europe. So just trying to solidify myself early. For me, it was in preseason. For preseason, just playing hard, taking my preseason games as games, and just kind of continuing that wave throughout the whole year. And I was blessed to kind of have a great first year in my eyes, and play solid and play well. Kind of have a little niche within EuroLeague, but definitely you have that extra motivation. You have the extra push that you have just from being in EuroLeague. It's definitely you have momentum.
You played a bit in the NBA. You've got teammates, I'm sure, all over the world. When guys who've never been to Europe before get an offer and they call you up and they ask for advice, what's the EuroLeague like? Should I take it? What do you tell them?
I say it's different. I said it's different, but it's still fun. You're still doing what you love. It's more a possession game. You're not gonna go out there and do a lot of one-on-one. And, coaches have a lot of control about the plays and what you're doing on offense and defense. But I tell them, you're doing what you love. Playing in Europe is a beautiful thing. You get to travel the world as well, aside from basketball. So it's all in all, it's a great experience if you just, try doing something new.
So before we start talking about the changes Javi and I made to our teams, let's take a look at the team that Bonzie chose. At center, you've got a guy we already spoke about, McCormick and Tyreek Jones. At forward, I'm seeing Sorkin, who I already spoke about, David Leidy, Tim Schneider, and some guy named Colson. I don't know if he's any good. You can tell us about him.
But yeah, I think that's a solid team. I think those guys have been playing really solid and consistent, and I think they're gonna do their thing, and I'm gonna win it.
So yeah, a very strong trio of guards. You've got Lonnie Walker, you've got Edwards from Byron, you have Theo Maladon, and your fourth guard is John Di Bartolomeo, another former teammate of yours, and your head coach, Thiago Splitter of Paris Basketball. So all in all, this is a very competitive team.
Yeah, very competitive, and my thing is consistency. You have John D, who's very consistent. With what he does on both sides of the floor. You have Lonnie Walker, who's been playing, like we talked, really good as of lately. You have Theo, who has been leading as well. Guys just are playing really good. So good momentum. We just got to keep it up, and I think I have a solid team.
All right, well, I like McCormick a lot. I bought him last week, and he's very, I mean, for the PAR that he got 15 last week, he's really, really cheap, and I'm keeping him. They're not very good options at center. Everybody has Lesort and or Milutinov, so I think it's having guys like him or like Tyreek Jones, like you had, or Lauvergne. It's interesting because at some point these players are not going to play well, Lesort and Milutinov. So we'll see. I'm missing maybe a superstar, but then you have Theo Maledon, which I think fits into the description. So yeah, good team, man. I like it.
Yeah.
Lonnie Walker is also a superstar.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's
This is got
potentially he can be, but thing is that Zagris doesn't play like 100 points per game precisely. So I don't know. At some point, he's gonna. I mean, he had a -9 to start, but I think at some point that's gonna fall on him. The fact that Zagris will have a 74, 72, 70 point game, and then he won't be able to have a, let's say, 25 PAR. So that's why I don't like Lonnie Walker.
Let's
Anyway.
just say that after the first quarter last week, when he had 16 points and you knew he was my captain, you were sweating.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But then in the end, I won the week, so why worry? I'm ahead of you, so that's cool. Anyway, Frankie, what do you have this week? Which trades do you make?
So I released Coach Spanulis. I did not want to keep him playing against Fenerbahce. Juan Nunez, Jabari Parker, and Petrusev, who we should speak about because a lot of people have him and they should know that he will not be playing this week. It's a clause in his contract. He is on loan from Olympiacos to Red Star. And part of that clause is that he cannot play against Olympiacos this season. So if you have Petrusev, make sure to get him out of your lineup. He'll have a week to rest, and you can bring him back next week. The four players that I'm bringing in instead of them are Roman Sorkin, Coach Herbert from Byron, Matteo Spagnolo from Albert Berlin, and with the money left over, I went and I got a guy named Sasha Vazenkov.
Well, Bezenko is a good choice, of course. I'm not sure about this. This Petrusev thing keeps me worried. What if they play the playoffs? It's going to be tricky, right?
Oh yeah, true.
We'll see. Anyway, I want the Bonzie's opinion because I have some doubts. I can get Taras Sedekerskis and Katzen Edwards all together, and for the same money, I can get TJ Sharks and Gabriele Procida, the Italian forward of Alba Berlin. So what do you think?
No, I like the Shorts Sederaskis combination. I think Shorts has been playing unbelievable, at this time throughout the season. And Sederaskis, he does a little bit of everything, and he plays hard. He rebounds. He can score it. So I think that combo will get you a lot of points.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Taras and Edwards too.
Everton.
So I'm selling Jokubaitis, who had a really good game at the beginning of the season, not in the beginning of the week, not so good then later. And I like the matchup against Bayern Munich is difficult. I'm selling Petrusev for the reasons that you said. I'm selling also Alfa Diallo, who has been playing great with Spanulis. And also Devin Booker, because I want Lesort, basically. So I'm getting Lesort, I'm getting Sedekerskis and Edwards. And with 5 trades that I had, I bought Diop from Milan. So my team is going to look like this. In first turn, I have Carson Edwards, Will Clyburn, Tao Sedekerskis, Sorkin, and McCormack, with Sama and Dello. And on the bench, I have Maledon, Lesort, and Diop. So I have 2 good options to... Well, if things don't go well, I can rely on Lesort and Maledon to fix things a little bit. Frankie, who are you starting? Who do you have on the bench?
So I'm starting with 2 centers to begin with. I have Sertek Shenley and David McCormick, and whoever is weaker will go to the bench on Friday. Only 1 forward on Thursday, which is Sorkin, and then my guards are Walker and Spaniolo with Nikos Rekokolis as from Baskonia as my 6th man. But I've got a lot of power on the bench with guys who are playing on Friday with Nico Mannion, Theo Maledon, and Sasha Vazenkov. And also I have Tariq Biberovic, who's playing on Thursday, but he was my 7th man, so he will be on the bench regardless.
All right, I wanted to ask Bonzie about Coach Spanulis. What do you think? I mean, a superstar player doesn't make a superstar coach, but in this case, it looks like he's going to have a great career as a coach, right?
Yeah, I think the league and everybody is excited to see him as a coach. He was at Paris 30 last year, I believe. So it's good to see him in EuroLeague, and I think he has a solid team to coach with Monaco. Talented, eager group, and I think they'll mesh well. Overall as a unit, and it's good to see that he's coaching. And like I said, it's good to see. So we'll see how they do.
I think that's an old cliche that star players can't be coaches. But if you look around, especially in your career in the EuroLeague, Oda Kaches was a superstar, Charis was a superstar, Thiago Splitter was a superstar.
Exactly.
So maybe things have changed a little bit. Tell us a little bit from your standpoint, what's the advantage of playing for a coach who was a star, carried a team on his shoulders, understands what's that like?
I think they just understand what it's like to be a player. A lot of I think coaches nowadays have been a little bit more relaxed of practices and making it a little bit more of a player's game rather than how it was back in the day. So they kind of understand, what it's like to be a player. And it got maybe, a different feel for maybe an ATO or, feeling when the guy's hot and just understand what it's like to play in Europe. So it's definitely a different vibe you get, and I enjoy playing under a coach who's played, and it's been going well. So like I said, Smidolis is another one of the greats who've done it, and wish him nothing but the best.
Not this week, though.
But that's why I said overall speaking.
Yeah, you have to help Saras. I mean, if he wins the EuroLeague, he'll be the first guy in 22 years to be winning as a player and as a coach the EuroLeague. Only 3 people did it in the history of the EuroLeague, so it would be amazing.
Yeah, we're trying.
Captains, Frankie, Bonzie, who do you have as captain? I'm beginning to think it's gonna be Lonnie Walker, right?
Yeah, I believe both have Lonnie. Just he's playing at a high level, like we've said, and he's going to lead us to win this challenge for sure.
All right. Well, they play Madrid, and I expect that to be a high-scoring game. It kind of fits. But playing against Campazzo is not exactly the best option, right? I mean, you played against Campazzo for the last couple of years, and the guy can be difficult on defense, right?
Yeah, he's definitely a gritty defender, but like we've mentioned before, Lonnie got that grit and that edge right now with that momentum. So he just has to continue that, and he's a versatile scorer, so I think he can use that to his advantage with Campazzo, or even Lowell if he guards him at the point position or combo position.
Yeah, I don't think that Campazzo will be guarding Walker anyway. I think we'll see more Campazzo on Francisco and other ball handlers, and Walker will be playing more of the two. So I'm not so concerned about that part of it.
Yeah, it might be
I have
Musa. Might be a Musa line.
And he could do well. We'll see. I have Carson Edwards as coach, as a team captain. But I'm waiting for Lesort and Maledon in case Edwards doesn't play well, which I don't think is going to happen because he's been playing great. He had 27 points in the second half the other day. It's amazing. He's on fire, and I'm glad that he's showcasing his best version there in Munich. Bonzie, thank you very much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. Very good luck to your fantasy challenge team, and also good luck against Monaco. It's not going to be easy, but playing at home, I think Fener is always the favorite against any team because the atmosphere is amazing.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, and I appreciate it. It was fun.
And to all the fans, thank you for listening. Make sure to get your EuroLeague TV subscription to tune in to see Bonzie this week against AS Monaco, to see this week's rivalry game of the week between it's a French derby between Paris and Asvel. And share, tell everyone about the podcast, ask us questions, interact with us on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. And we'll be back here next week for another episode. Until then, thank you.